Today is a real milestone day for my Huis project. It's the day that I get a new roof, and it's not just any old corrugated iron roof. For one, I've gone for Tidal Drift Matte. It's a new product that's on the market, and it has all of that durability that we know from Colorsteel, but because it's in a matte, for an old house, I think it's a really appropriate way of addressing the heritage of the house. I've also opted for the TrueOak profile, which is a deeper profile, so you get more strength in the product, but you also get a roof that's much more like an original long run roof or an original corrugated iron roof from the 1920s, 1930s. So I'm super happy about this, and the durability, I've opted for 0.55 gauge, so it's a nice thick product, and with that high ridge in between, trough and the ridge, that's going to make this roof so much more durable. And where I've got my flat roof, because it carries more water, I can use it on my 7-degree pitch and be absolutely confident about the weather tightness. So the Tidal Drift Matte, I love the colour of it, I love the TrueOak profile, and the fact that I've got a new roof, well, that's even better. Well, let me show you something brand new. Let me walk on something brand new, in fact. So from the team at Easy Access, we know about the Moby Towers, we know how good they are. But this, the bridge, is a new innovation. Comes in a selection of different lengths, comes with the handrail ready to go, and essentially we've just set up the two towers and then drop the bridge in between. It's great for the guys finishing the roof right now. I'll drop it down a bit when I have to repair the fascia, and the guys can do the spouting, and then once it comes time to the painting, I'll just drop it down a couple of levels. So with a tower at either end and the bridge in between, this system, the Moby system with the bridge from Easy Access, gives me access to everywhere I need to be. 20 minutes to set it up with a couple of us, and then once we're done on this side, we'll use it round the other. It's a great system. It's roofing day, so I've come up into the attic. Now, we created this space a couple of weeks ago, but in the past you always just stared up and looked at the underside of the old iron. So that's all gone. New roofing underlay. Of course, I've got my brand new Colorsteel roof on the outside there as well, and this space still a little bit dusty today. I've got to have a bit of a tidy up, but it has transformed this. So the combination of the underlay, the new roof, has made this attic space so much more usable. I've got the stairs to get up here. It's a great space now. Uncovering part of the history of this house, I'm always curious as to, maybe who would have built it, how they built it, what styles and techniques they used. And when I first came here, I noticed that instead of sort of traditional purlins at maybe 800 or 900 centres, there are these old 6x1 rough sawn boards. And when we were taking the roof off today, we were talking about, I wonder what the original roof was, and I reckon it was probably kauri shingles, and they would have easily spanned from over there each time, and they would have laid this, maybe sourced it from local materials, split the shingles, and then shingled the roof. So it's had shingle roof, it's had a very early corrugated iron roof, and now it's got a brand new Colorsteel Tidal Drift Matte roof. While this house presented reasonably well from the road frontage, nobody could ignore the fact that the roof had started to sag, and that there was quite a dramatic sort of sag in these old kauri 4x2 rafters, and it was always my intention to try as best I could to straighten it. And to be honest, there's no better timber to use than this, the J-frame. So I had some 140 by 45 left over from framing out the floor in here, and we managed with a clamp and a couple of guys to sort of push the old roof back up into alignment. Gave it a good stretch, and now when you look at it from out on the front of the road there, it looks way better. And this J-frame, well, it's doing the work now. This is a pretty straightforward room. This is a room like you'll find in every single new build, certainly most renovations as well. And what we're seeing here is the stage before the painting begins. And people will often ask me questions about what's the right process, what do I use where and how. Well, let's run through the what you need to use and where you need to use it. So first thing is, I've got brand new jib plasterboard. It's been stopped, it's been sanded. The first coat is going to be broadwall. So that's a water-based sealer that's applied on, and then the guys will sand that back before we start with our top coats, whatever they happen to be. So number one on the jib board is broadwall sealer. The next thing is you've got bare timber on the scotias and on the architrave. So Quick dry is absolutely fine. Some people prefer to use oil base. I typically have always used oil base in the past, but a sealer coat before you start with your top coats there. And then the other tricky thing with this room is that I've got these Resene tongue and groove ceilings that were polyurethane, and I want to paint those. So the first thing that the guys have done there is given it a light sand just to lose the gloss from the polyurethane, and then used smooth surface sealer. That's the first coat that you need to apply over existing polyurethane in order for all of your subsequent coats to key into it really, really well. Because I don't want my new paint peeling off because I haven't done the prep well. And in fact, in this room, I've got an example of exactly that. When I was up doing the scotias the other day, I took a tungsten, scraped along the old boards there, and the paint that was put on 20-30 years ago is simply flaking off. So to prepare this old existing ceiling, we've got to scrape back the paint from 20-30 years ago. Then we'll use a pigmented sealer on there to lock it all together, and then that will be ready for my top coats as well. So here we go. Broad wall, quick dry, smooth surface sealer, some pigmented sealer. Specific paints for specific jobs. That's really, really important. And I'm getting all of mine from Resene. Well, welcome. This is sash window repair, double hung sash window repair 101 with Pete Wolfkamp. And over my years, especially doing heritage work, I've kind of lost track of the number of these that I've refurbished, and they come to you in all sorts of states of disrepair. This set actually not too bad, but the inevitable has happened to them. So there's always a little hidden panel in here that the original builders made in such a way that if you ever needed to get to the weights again, you could knock that panel out without having to take all of the architraves off on the inside. However, most of them are often missing, and in this case the one that was here was badly damaged. So I've made up a new piece, which once I've sanded and painted it, that's ready to go. Obviously the dividing bead here, well, part of it's there, but that's not much good to me. So I'm going to remachine one of those. I'll take the time to scrape back all of the inside as well. It's funny, often you see that they were put in complete and never painted. And so this little bit in here, which is where the horn of the top sash comes down, you can never get back to it. So I'm going to scrape all of this paintwork off, give it a good primer and then a top coat before putting my new sashes in. I've had the glazing replaced. The old glass was probably maybe 2 millimeters thick, so I've gone for modern glass from Metro, new putty in there. I'll sand and prepare all of the edges of this sash and then the corresponding top one. So replace the dividing beads, put in this little hidden block. I made one out of a piece of pine tannalized that I had around, and then I found a lovely piece of kauri that was once, I don't know, a handrail or a breakfast bar here. So I've made the other one out of a little bit of kauri just because I like working with old pieces of native timber. What happens then is that often replacing the glass changes the weight of the actual sash itself. So once I've put it back together, I'm going to balance my weights by adding little rounds of lead that will go onto the cords as well. So the windows will go back together, the windows will get balanced, then I can finish the architraves on the inside. It is not, I can tell you, a job that you can just rush through. This is lovely carpentry. This is traditional craft. I love doing it, but you've got to give yourself the time to do it. And if you are doing it, you know, a window like this probably already served this house for over 100 years. I reckon it'll continue to serve this house easily for another 100. You know, one of the things that I really, really enjoy about doing heritage work is that there is this constant tension between getting it right and accepting the fact that the house is old and it's not going to be perfect. Just like I've got a few wrinkles, this house has got a few sags. And, you know, even the ceiling's a classic example. If you go up and look at it really closely, it's definitely not flat. This board through the middle where the old roof was leaking was that bent and cut that there was no way that we could keep it, right? So it was a simple thing to remove a couple of the battens. In fact, they'd rotted because that's where the water had collected. Pull down that one board, we machined up a new one, put that in, found some matching battens, thankfully, and have redone that. And then even the trim around the outside, we've kind of had to scribe it because, again, the ceiling is not quite flat. All of these things are just part of the character of the house, and I don't want to lose that, but I also want it to appear finished and complete and resolved. It shouldn't be rough, let's say, but it's never going to be perfect, just like you and I.